Okay, well, hello and welcome everyone to Talent Match's introductory webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ryan Hunt, and I'm the Executive Director of the BC Museums Association. Before I introduce everyone, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples on whose lands each of our speakers is working from today. And we invite you to introduce yourself and to acknowledge the land that you are on in the chat. In Vancouver, our speakers are on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. In Calgary, our speakers are on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Guyana First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, which includes the Chikini, Bears Paw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. And in Victoria, we are on the traditional lands of the Lekwungen peoples, the Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wasanich people. Talent Match is a new program to help employers from match organizations connect with post-secondary institutions and to employ student talent. For those who may not know, MATCH stands for Museums, Arts, Tourism, Culture, and Hospitality. And the Talent Match program is a collaboration between the BC Museums Association, the BC Alliance for Arts and Culture, GoToHR, BC's Tourism Industries Human Resources Association, and ACE-WIL, the Association for Cooperative Education and Work Integrated Learning for BC and Yukon. This program is funded by the Ministry of Advanced Education, Training, and Skills. I would like to introduce today's speakers. Alison Benner is the co-op coordinator for the Humanities and Fine Arts at the University of Victoria and is also an ACE-WIL board member. She'll be talking to us today about different types of work integrated learning, as well as how to reach post-secondary institutions. Heather McGilvery is TECHNATION Senior Program Coordinator for the Career Ready program, and she'll be sharing information on the Student Work Placement Program and TECHNATION's granting process. Logan Swain is joining us today as well. He is a University of Victoria co-op student studying theater and has been working with Theater Scam for the past year. He'll be telling us about his experiences as a student worker. Hannah Aluwalia is ACE-WIL's project and administrative assistant, and she'll be helping us on the digital side of things, and will be monitoring the chat for questions. And finally, Debbie Reese is Talent Match's program manager, and she'll be leading us through the webinar today. Over to you, Debbie.
Thank you, Ryan, and thanks for everyone for coming today. I'll also just let you all know that we are recording the webinar, so you can rewatch it later or share it with your colleagues. I will also share the slides after the webinar, so you don't have to take extensive notes. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please add them to the chat. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go through them, as many of them as we can. Talent Match's goal is to help museum, arts, tourism, culture, and hospitality organizations access student talent through co-ops and other work integrated learning placements, so that those students can, in turn, help organizations recover and renew in a post-COVID world. The program provides employers with resources to make hiring a student easier. This includes information on funding, help connecting to post-secondary institutions with programs that are relevant to the positions or projects employers want students to help with, and tips on how to recruit and onboard students into your organization. In addition to resources, we'll be providing one-on-one support. So you can email me to arrange a time to talk about your organizational needs. And you can see both my email address and the Talent Match URL in the slide right now, as well as in the chat. And let's put that in there. I can help you brainstorm for the project or position and find the information that's most helpful to you in bringing it on a student. So let's start off by talking about some of the benefits of why you'd want to bring on a student. Students are especially great if you need to expand your organizational capacity by having them manage short-term projects or cover your seasonal needs. We'll get into some examples of potential projects in a few minutes, but there's a seasonality to many of your organizations, and students are a great source of people power to bolster those needs. Students are motivated and have up-to-date skills. Think about when you first started out. You were eager to prove yourself, build your resume, and network to kick off your career. Students are the same. They are eager to learn and to work hard. Plus, at school, they are learning the most up-to-date skills about the latest software, methodologies, and more. They can offer a fresh perspective to your organization on how to do things. Supervising students can develop leadership skills in your existing staff. If providing professional development to your staff is an organizational value or goal, having someone supervise and mentor a student can provide them the opportunity to learn how to train, delegate to, and manage others. In the long term, you're establishing a source of talent, not only for your own organization, but for the community. At some point, you're going to hire for more permanent roles. And you know that when you see an application from someone who's worked in the sector before, or better yet, at your organization before, you're more likely to select that person for the job. Plus, you're building your community by hiring students. If a student has a good experience with an organization early in their career, they're likely to support it in the long run, possibly as future staff, but also as a future customer or patron, donor, or supporter who will talk your organization up to their family and friends. And of course, if funding is an option, hiring a student can help you keep your costs down, and we'll talk about that more shortly. But first, I want to ask Allison to tell us about the different types of work-integrated learning that students participate in.
Thanks, Debbie. There are 9 types of work-integrated learning, or WIL for short. So all 9 forms involve students gaining practical experience in their field, but each is slightly different. I'm going to divide them into 3 groups for ease of discussion. So my next slide, thank you. So I'm going to start by focusing on the 3 forms of WIL that are most relevant to you: co-op, work experience, and internship. So first of all, co-op and work experience are very similar. A student works a minimum of 420 hours over the course of a semester, gaining paid work experience in their field, while reflecting on their learning through a series of assignments organized by their post-secondary institution. The student will have a designated supervisor in the workplace and will also be assigned to a co-op coordinator from their post-secondary institution. The main difference between co-op and work experience lies in the number of semesters a student works before they graduate. Programs differ, but typically with an undergraduate student, a co-op student usually works 3 or 4 semesters before they graduate, usually at different workplaces, alternating between work and study terms, while with work experience, the student usually works 1 or 2 semesters before graduation. Internships are similar to co-op and work experience, but they can vary in length and can occur at any time during a student's course of study, including after they've completed all their academic coursework. Usually internships are longer than co-op or work experience placements. A typical length is 12 or 16 months, and they can be paid or unpaid. So if they're paid, a student can register an internship through their co-op program, completing up to 3 back-to-back semesters of work with the same organization. It's going to go to the next 3 now. So the 3 forms of WIL I just described are the ones you're most likely to post for, but you might also connect with students through applied research projects, field placements, and service learning. Typically, students engaged in applied research projects or service learning are registered in an academic course at their institution that involves working hands-on in a community organization. For example, a student might be completing community-based research for their thesis, or a student might be registered in a course that involves some kind of a consulting project with a community organization. There wouldn't be any set number of hours to complete, but they're based in the community doing some work. With service learning, a student would be registered in a community service learning course that might involve a short-term placement. Typically 20 hours would be a typical length, to address a specific challenge identified by the community organization. A student completing a field placement would also be doing short-term or part-time community placement relating to their field of study, but it wouldn't necessarily be connected with any specific course, and it wouldn't be supervised in that same way by the post-secondary institution. So this leaves us with the 3 remaining forms of WIL: entrepreneurship, mandatory professional practicum, and apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is closely connected with the trades. For example, if you're in the hospitality sector, you may have been involved with students in baking or the culinary arts. Professional practica are usually connected with fields such as teaching, nursing, social work, child and youth care, and so on. Entrepreneurship, of course, is highly relevant to the arts, culture, and tourism and hospitality fields, but students engaged in this form of WIL wouldn't be placed with you. They would be starting a business on their own initiative.
Thanks, Allison. Can you tell us why it's important for employers to know about the different types of WIL?
I think it's useful for employers to know about the different ways that they could connect with students. So many of you out there listening might already know about co-op, for example, but you might be less familiar with opportunities to connect with students through service learning or applied research projects. It's also good for employers to be able to see some of the overlap between the different forms of WIL. For example, a student could be completing applied research as part of their co-op term, which is by definition also a field placement. But what makes it a co-op as opposed to those other titles is the number of hours, the fact that it's paid, and that they get co-op credit for it.
Great. And can you tell us some ways that employers can reach out to post-secondary schools and students?
Absolutely. Let's go to the ACE-WIL BC website, which is a great resource for connecting with post-secondary institutions engaged in WIL.
I'm just going to take a moment to get there, so bear with me.
Yep.
Thanks, Hannah.
So while Hannah's getting that, I'm just going to say that you can use this link to search for schools, and then you can see what programs they offer, different WIL programs. There's a new page that will be added soon where you can search for schools or programs. So I'm just going to go over that with you in a second. Here we are. Thanks, Hannah. So you can, if you want to get more in just general information about WIL programs, you can contact ACE-WIL BC. So there's a button up in the top right of the page there that says Contact ACE-WIL BC. So if you press that one, you'll access a page where you can put your contact information and send in a message that will be generate an email to ACE-WIL BC. So if you're just not sure what to do, feel free to use that one. You can also, if you have a position and you know that you're going to post something, you can post it on the ACE-WIL BC website. So there's a couple places on our page where there's a red button that says post an opportunity. There's one right in the middle of the page there, Hannah. And we'll go through that again in a minute. So you can do that. And then if you're just looking for another way to get help would be to get in touch with Debbie at the information she provided earlier on the slides that you'll be getting later.
Great. And if we could go to that post an opportunity page now, Hannah, and then Allison, if you can walk us through that portal.
Great. Okay. So if you could just scroll it down a little bit, Hannah. So I won't go over this in detail because some of it is self-explanatory, such as your own contact information. But if you keep scrolling down a little bit further, here is where under position information, here is where you would start to put some of the information that's relevant for the posting. And the place where you'd enter one of the 9 forms of WIL, there's those boxes that you can tick off. If you're not, because we talked about some of the overlap in different forms of WIL, if you're not absolutely sure about that, you can consult the information on the 9 forms of WIL, but don't worry that you don't get that absolutely right, because we can fix it when we get the information on the other end. So that's where if you knew what you were looking for, that's where you would click it off. You can continue to scroll down. Thanks, Hannah. So here you can upload a PDF if you have a job posting already ready. You can also cut and paste the information into the field for the job posting. And then further down, you can click off all the institutions that you'd like to receive the posting. And you can click off as many as you like. So if you want to reach every post-secondary institution, all 25 in BC, then you can do that. Further down, you're asked to target the student's academic program. You can do your best to see which disciplines you think are best aligned with the job posting that you have. In this field, there would be a lot of people in arts and humanities that you might be trying to reach, but also there's a special button for tourism and hospitality, fine arts as well. And here we just wanted to find out how you found out about us. Could be this webinar. And I just wanted to highlight that if you want to stay in touch with ACE-WIL on an ongoing basis, you can click this button to stay and become part of Friends of ACE-WIL BC, our email list. Once you've pressed submit your opportunity, your posting will be routed to each of the schools that you selected, and they will channel your posting to the right contact there, who will get in touch with you, let you know that your posting has been received and is going to be posted, or to follow up with more information if they have questions about something. Of course, to reach the broadest number of students, in addition to posting through ACE-WIL BC, you can also post your opportunity with the job boards of the BC Alliance for Arts and Culture, the BCMA, and Go2HR.
Great. Thanks, Allison. I think we're going to switch now to talk a little bit about funding. So I'll just wait for Hannah to go back to the slides. Wonderful. And so that should be the next one. So I want to talk about a few different options that can help you hire student talent. So I've put together 2 resource documents for you, which I think is the next slide, Hannah. Oh, perfect. So you can find them both at acewilbc.ca/talent-match, which you can see is there at the top of the slide, and Hannah will pop that into the chat as well. So there's 2 documents there. The one on the right is a listing of funding sources that have deadlines throughout the year, which includes information about programs whose deadlines have already passed, such as the Canada Summer Jobs program that I think many of you probably know about. But it's a good resource for those of you who are considering hiring next year. And the one on the left is a list of funding that's still available for the coming summer 2021 semester. So I'll just give you a quick rundown on what's available now. Keep in mind that each of these programs has their own eligibility criteria, so please be sure to check out the resource document or reach out to me and I can help you find the right fit. If you're in the Columbia Basin Trust region, for example, Cranbrook, Fernie, Revelstoke, and that southeast corner of BC, the Columbia Basin Trust has a number of wage subsidy programs to hire apprentices, co-op students, interns, and for entry-level positions. One that may be particularly relevant for those of you from museums, if you're thinking of an academic research project and want to hire an intern and partner with a post-secondary institute, you can prepare a proposal and apply through the METAX Accelerate program. If you're an organization in the green sector, including ecotourism businesses, the United Nations Associations in Canada has the Canada Green Corps project to help you hire a recent graduate as an intern. Individual schools also have funding options that are tied to hiring students from their institution. If you're already connected to a school, be sure to ask their WIL or co-op offices if they have any programs that you might be eligible for. And then there's the Student Work Placement Program, which is affectionately called the SWIP. This is a federal program that's administered through a variety of organizations, and each one is a little bit different. They offer a subsidy to cover 50% of a student's wage up to $5,000 or 70% up to $7,000 if you hire a student from an underrepresented group. This includes Indigenous students, students of color, students living with a disability, recent immigrants, women in STEM or STEAM, that's science, technology, engineering, art, or math, and for first-year students. This is a great incentive to increase diversity at your organizations and to mentor those students towards eventually taking on leadership roles in the community. Again, I encourage you to review these documents to see what might work best for you and to reach out and I can help you along the way. The direct links to both have been added to the chat. And now I'd like to introduce you to Heather McGilvery from TECHNATION, one of the SWIP partner organizations. She's going to share a little bit about their program and also share some interesting projects and positions she's seen organizations hire students for. Heather?
One moment, sorry, I'm just need to spotlight Heather here.
Okay.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you a little bit about the Career Ready program. My name is Heather McGilvery, and I am the rep for the Career Ready program for Canada's beautiful Western provinces. So today I'm going to present to you about the Career Ready program, which is a pillar of TECHNATION's strategic priorities, promoting workforce development in the technology sector. I'll tell you more about the Career Ready program and what a job that might be subsidized within the program may look like. And I'll inform employers how you can get involved through the Career Ready program. And I can take any questions you may have, or we can wait to the end for that as well. So TECHNATION is a nonprofit association, and we have a mission to prosper Canada's technology companies and the technology workforce. We work with large corporations, entrepreneurs, startups, and everything in between. So we're developing strategies and solutions to achieve national and global technology industry success. Now, why am I talking to you here today? Because TECHNATION falls under many strategic priorities. And as you may be aware, technology is interdisciplinary. It doesn't just fall under one specific pillar. Every agency, every business is touched by technology. Also, we want to promote students with work placements that are technologically meaningful. So TECHNATION's strategic priorities, just really quickly, is that we engage the public sector and support industry prosperity and growth. We support the health industry towards standards and technology adoption. We enable technology transformation. And the Career Ready program falls under the future workforce development pillar of the strategic priorities. And we are here to drive digital workforce readiness and development. So the key facts you need to know is that the Career Ready program, as Debbie reviewed, is part of the Student Work Placement program with the Government of Canada and Employment and Social Development Canada. And what we do is we provide meaningful tech immersive roles for students. And as I talked about earlier, this could involve students that are not necessarily technology students, but they are engaging with tech in a meaningful way in their work placement. The two main criteria that students need to demonstrate is that they're enrolled in an accredited post-secondary institution. So Allison went over all the different types of student work placements that could be where a student might be coming from, or the student just needs to show that they're enrolled at an accredited institution and they may be working while they're enrolled. And the student must be a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or refugee status. I saw in the questions pop up about international students. At this time, the Career Ready program is unable to subsidize international students. So how does an employer know they are eligible for the Career Ready program? We have a pretty simple online pre-approval process. You need to be a registered Canadian business or organization. You have to be ready or have already hired your post-secondary student, again, providing a meaningful tech immersive work experience for them. And you have to hire your student on as a fixed-term employee That's how we ensure that all the workplace safety standards are being met. And again, at this time, international students do not qualify. So let me tell you a little bit more about the Career Ready program. As Debbie went over, we provide 50% of a student's work placement up to $10,000, so $5,000 max, or 70% of maximum $7,000 up to $10,000 for every 4-month placement. So right now, we're accepting placements for the summer term, which is May to August. If you have a student starting, continuing on, they're privy to the subsidy once again in the fall term from September to December. So each 4-month placement, the student is eligible. So how you participate is pretty easy. If you are an employer and you meet those eligibility criteria, you're going to go to our online portal. The link will be added to the website. You can go explore. The portal, you need to scroll down a little bit on the website, click online portal, and register yourself. Now I'm going to go over the application process pretty high level, but what you need to do is you go in and you tell us about your company. There's some standard questions that you answer. You upload your job description, which I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that. You hire your student. Once you have your student, you send the invite to the student to participate. This is where we get the student's information for eligibility. It's confidential and secure. You will not have access to it, but the student gives proof of eligibility, showing that they're a Canadian citizen and showing that they're enrolled in an accredited post-secondary institution. Once that's approved, you are approved for the subsidy. Now, I want to take a minute because I know it can be confusing about what type of positions might be eligible. And I talked about how a student can come from any discipline. And I wanted to give an example. This is an example from the summer of 2020 and a community museum. They're very dynamic and they attract thousands of visitors. They hired the following three student positions. So they had a collections cataloger, a museum's operation coordinator, and an archival transcription project team lead. Now, I want to show you a little bit about what a job description might look like. The basics of the job description are pretty standard. You're going to have the kind of skills, the kind of competencies you're looking for. They're looking for a sense of humor in this operations coordinator. And they were looking for bilingualism. Now, the next part I put in here kind of highlighted how the employer built in the technological tools that the student was interacting with. This is what we look for in the job description to know that the student is having a techie meaningful experience. So you can see it doesn't need to be in depth. It doesn't need to go into great detail. This student was working with a Square analytical program, and these were kind of some of the things that they would be asked to do. And this job description was eligible and accepted into the Career Ready program. One more quick position that kind of would be relevant with COVID, they brought in a student to transform all their paper to digital products. It was a really unique position, and without the funding, they wouldn't have been able to do it. And they also, and this comes up very, very often, students who are doing social media, marketing, those kind of positions are absolutely eligible for the Career Ready program. So you have your student, you've invited them to fill out their portion. Oh, just back to the application process really quickly. And you've received your approval within 7 days. You know your student is going to be approved for the subsidy. You can now begin your placement. The things that you will need to provide throughout the way as an employer First is the placement agreement. A lot of students who are coming from, placement agreement is signing of the clause. It's digital, you sign the clause. Student learning plan, a lot of students come with a student learning plan if they're in a student work integrated learning program. But if you don't have a learning plan, there's some easy questions you can answer in the portal that say, where are we? Where are we going? What is this student going to learn? This again is how we ensure that the student's having a meaningful experience and receiving mentorship and guidance along the way. And you provide proof of the student's first paycheck. What you pay your student is up to you, and the length of the term can be for the full 4 months, it can be for a couple of weeks, it can be for a month. That can vary as long as you're meeting occupational labor and job standards for your province. So they must be making their minimum wage and all of those things. And that is provided in the proof of first payment. The student goes on about their placement. When the placement comes to an end, the employer goes in and provides either they can receive a check or they can receive direct deposit. They fill that in. The gross student earnings. So if the student made more than expected or less than expected, that's okay. We subsidize based on the final gross earnings up to $10,000. And that does include all the taxes as well. That's a great question. What happens if an employer hires a student and they're not approved? The approval process happens really early on. And what we usually say is the best thing is find your student and say, if this is the case, it's dependent upon your approval, and send them their portion to be approved. It's very often in the job description, if you put the eligibility requirements and you have those discussions with the students in advance, very, very often the students are eligible. It's what does come up, as we discussed, is that international students are unable to participate, and also if the student has graduated. That's the other thing that comes up. If they have officially graduated, they're not eligible either. They need to show enrollment in courses. For the summer, we take proof of enrollment from winter because they may not be enrolled over the summer months. All right, so you receive your wage subsidy retroactively at the end of the placement period. And then the next is just to let you know that because we are funded, not just because, but we follow all the privacy and legislations to ensure that everything is confidential. As I said, you won't have access to any of the student confidential information, nor do they have access to your part of the application. And we undergo security audits, and we report to Employment and Social Development Canada. And that concludes my presentation on the Career Ready program. I know there's probably lots of questions. That is my personal contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me. I am very quick to respond to email, and I love working with employers throughout the process. So please do not hesitate to reach out.
We do have a couple of questions in the chat, Heather. First, we have a question about, does the Career Ready grant funded students, does the Career Ready grant fund students in digital fabrication technology?
Absolutely. Okay. That would probably be a pretty easy job description. You may not have to build up any of the technology engagement pieces. It might already be in there, but absolutely. We are interdisciplinary and intersectorial, if that's a word. We fund all programs in which the student is meaningfully engaged in technology.
Great. Another question about are they eligible for funding if it's a work from home situation? Is work from home an option?
Oh, that's a good question. Absolutely. What we have found is that a lot of our student placements have become remote. It's almost become the norm with what's going on in the world around us. So yes, they can be remote positions.
Awesome. Is the subsidy only for wages, or can it assist in housing if it is in a remote area? So relocation costs.
Oh, that's brilliant. It is just for wages because we take the final gross wage. There is ways we can reach out and talk further about if that can be built into the student's paycheck or to be part of the pay. But it's something we could discuss further. Right now, we do just subsidize on the final gross wage that the student earns.
Great. Another question about if Technation funding is available to post-secondary institutions, or is it net new only?
So it was available to post-secondary institutions up until winter. With COVID funding, we had the ability, but now it is not. It has to come from the employer application, or employers that are handling from an institution, say a innovative lab or an entrepreneurship lab. Things like that are allowed, but it cannot be the post-secondary institution themselves.
Great. And then what is the average wait period between application submission and approval?
So we like to do 5 to 10 business days. We have a team across Canada that's all approving summer applications as we speak. So you will know if you're approved with 5 to 7 business days. And the process that we go through, all the approval parts, we like to get them done in that standard. At the end, the retroactive pay, sometimes that takes longer. And we aren't always able to keep the 5 to 10 business day standards, but we do keep you informed and we do turn it around as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you. And then just the last question here. What is the standard employment term? 1 term, 3.5 months? What's the standard term for students?
Well, I think that Allison might have, she might have some answers for that, because I know the student work term placement she had noted are specific lengths and time. When I'm speaking just for the Career Ready program, they do tend to fill the entire student term, 4 months, but it doesn't necessarily have to.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Heather, and thanks, Hannah, for going through the questions. We will have some more time, hopefully, at the end to answer more questions, so keep putting those into the chat. But for now, I'd like to introduce everyone to Logan Swain. Logan is a theater student at UVic, and he's wrapping up his 4th co-op semester with Theater Scam. So Theater Scam is a professional theater company founded in 1995. Theater Scam focuses on creating and presenting new plays, operates a pop-up theater on the back of a truck, produces an annual festival called Scampede, and teaches drama classes through the Scam School of Performing Arts. As a co-op student with Theater Scam, Logan has been a co-producer, the production manager, and is now a producer. Logan, can you tell us about some of the projects you worked on with Theater Scam?
Yeah, some of the various projects I've worked on include co-producing the annual Scampede Festival, producing a Fringe Festival show, designing and production managing a preview presentation of a new Canadian play, and managing space and equipment rentals at the Scam Satellite Studio.
Great. And speaking of equipment, you told me before that you were tasked with researching new lighting and sound equipment. Did Theater Scam already know what they wanted, or were you presented with a budget and a list of needs?
I've done a bit of both. One research project was for a specific show and was based on a creative idea. Another was to replace equipment that had been stolen but was covered by insurance. And recently I've been researching and planning new lighting and sound systems to include in grants for future projects that are in the planning stages.
Great. And after COVID hit, you said that you worked on implementing new systems. Can you tell us about what it is that you worked on?
Yeah, I've taken the lead on updating and maintaining our COVID plan and procedures with the goal of being proactive rather than reactive to the changing guidelines. I've done research into ventilation and airflow, and I made the effort to stay up to date on what's happening around the world. And last summer, our Stampede Festival was one of the only events to run last summer, and I had protocols in place to ensure attendees had less contact with other people than they would while walking down the street.
Great. And you said that you also helped Theater Scam's classes transition to being online. Can you tell us about what you did for that?
Yeah, so Theater Scam offers a variety of drama classes for youth ages 5 to 18. In the fall, we decided it would be best to cancel in-person classes and shift everything online. So I had to become a Zoom expert very quickly so that I could educate our teaching artists on how to effectively use Zoom to teach a drama class. I also set up a Zoom teaching studio at our office, complete with camera and lighting.
Great. So the term other duties as required is a phrase you often see in job postings. What other projects did you manage or coordinate?
I spent a lot of January and February helping with the budget for the upcoming financial year, which starts April 1st, including an overhaul of the format so that it better suits the needs of the organization moving forward. And I've also been doing a fair amount of grant writing in my third and now fourth terms.
Great. Can you tell us about how you think this experience will help you in your career and how your role as a co-op student has helped Theater Scam?
Yeah, while working at Theater Scam, I've had the opportunity to work on a variety of professional projects at various scales in a relatively short amount of time. Filling multiple roles and taking on increasing responsibility over time has helped me build confidence in my abilities and broaden my skill sets. And I think my time as a co-op student has boosted Theater Scam's capacity and ability to engage in more projects at once. I've also helped the company learn about new techniques, emerging technologies, and acquire exciting new equipment that will be used for years to come.
Great, thanks so much for sharing with us, Logan. I think something that's useful for everyone here today is knowing that a student can be brought on to coordinate such a variety of projects. I also wanted to briefly share that in my previous role with the Vancouver Fringe Festival, we hosted many student placements over the years. We hired graphic designers, assistant volunteer coordinators, communications coordinators, special event assistants, fundraising assistants, and grant writing assistants. And the Fringe had great success with these students. The organization was able to grow with their support, and we found that students could do a variety of positions as long as they have guidance. So yeah, we have a little bit of time left. So if there's any more questions, please put them in the chat, or if someone has an experience with having a student on board and they'd like to share about the positions that they did, we're totally open to hear that now.
We definitely have a few more questions for Heather.
All right.
for now, and then a few general questions. So maybe we'll start with the Heather questions. We have a question around, can TECHNATION funding be used to offset employer expenses for Young Canada Works positions? So if positions also funded through Young Canada Works are not fully funded, can your funding also supplement that? Thank you. And then we had some other general questions. One question maybe Debbie or Allison could answer is, someone said, I have a home music and art studio. I am not a business at this point, but would I qualify for any of the programs, a student as an apprentice, for instance?
I would definitely have to check, so I would encourage you to email me and I can look into that for you. I know that there's also a handful of programs at schools where they offer unpaid placements, so that might be a different option for those of you who, you know, funding is a challenge, but you may not be eligible for this funding. So I'm researching furiously right now with different school programs. But Allison, if you have anything to add, and I'll add my email to the chat so you can email me that specific question.
All right. Another question. Oh, did you have anything to add, Allison?
Nothing substantial. I was going to say it would kind of depend on the exact situation. So in a way, I'm just saying what Debbie would say there is right to us and can find out more.
So we have a question around funding available for hiring international students. What kind of funding is available for hiring international students? Do we know?
Again, that's something I would have to look into. I know that the METAX program, it's not the Accelerate program that's in our funding document, but they also fund programs with specific schools, and they do allow international students for that one. But that is very much tied to, you have to hire a student from that school, but I believe that international students are eligible for that funding. Allison, do you have anything to add there?
No, there's a provincial grant program that was available, and if it's revived, you could be in touch with us in case we get more information in the coming months that can be used to hire international students, the BC Co-op Tech Grant. But at the moment, we don't have any confirmation that one will continue.
I don't think we had any more questions, unless maybe we can wait a little longer in case some other questions roll in.
Sure. And maybe in the meantime, Hannah, I know we had talked about if you wanted to share your experience as a co-op student as well, that might spark some ideas for some of the employers with us today.
Sure, yeah. Can you spotlight me? I'm not able to spotlight myself. Thank you.
Yes, you're spotlighted now.
All right. Well, so I'm currently in my second term of my second co-op, and I'm the co-op student for ACE-WIL, so the Association of Cooperative Education and Work Integrated Learning, as most of us maybe know because we're in a webinar that's partnered with ACE-WIL. So I was hired on as the project and administrative assistant, and like you kind of mentioned with Logan, a lot of the work that I am doing is not necessarily what was exactly in the job description. So, for example, my work can range from taking notes at meetings to writing blog posts on our website to supporting different projects like the Talent Match project. And in my second term, a great example of something I've done is I've been running my own small project, which is a student award project where I collect success stories about work integrated learning students from all the different PSIs, post-secondary institutions across BC. So yeah, like something that I think has been a real benefit for ACE-WIL, which is maybe a reason that employers would be interested in hiring students, is that I've been able to add a lot of capacity and pick up on projects that maybe wouldn't have been able to be picked up on just because of the nature of the really busy work. Also, a big strength that I've been bringing to the work environment is kind of my tech know-how as a young person. So like right now I've been helping out with the tech side of the webinar. And I think as well, Logan highlighted, he was able to teach people about Zoom and learn that pretty quickly. So yeah, like I've been doing lots of website things for ACE-WIL, writing blog posts, sending newsletters. So yeah, I would say like adding capacity is a really big plus, and then like helping support with the technology stuff has been something I've really helped a lot. I've helped ACE-WIL a lot with.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hannah. I don't think there's any other notes or questions in the chat there, so I'll just move on to thanking everyone for coming today. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be sharing the recording of the webinar, so you can share that with your colleagues or watch it again, because it's so fascinating learning all about this stuff. And we'll also be sharing the slides, so all the links that were in there will be accessible to you. And again, that will be at acewilbc.ca/talent-match. And you can email me at talentmatch@acewilbc.ca for any follow-up questions or to get started on your journey to hire a student. So again, thanks again, everyone, for coming today. Really appreciate, and I hope that it really helps you hire a student. All right, thanks, everyone.